welcome to everyone that's joined. For us, it's such a pleasure talking to people looking at studying abroad. Of course, specifically focusing on the sports side tonight and the mental game, the stuff that is so important within the sport industry and within players actually competing is the mental side of the conversations. So for tonight, you'll see two people on your screen. The first one is the one that I'm talking now. I'm Nicole Degenaar. I'm a sports recruiter here at Sable International. I've been in the sport industry for quite a few years. Absolutely love helping students achieve their dreams and absolutely love to see them grow. I'm also joined here by Ian Shippey. For those of you who don't know him, Ian, of course, is first and foremost a family man. Absolutely loves his family. As a performance coach, he really loves to help people and help them fulfill their potential. He was privileged to work as a mentor and wellness coach with the Springboks for 10 years. And has also worked as performance coach with the SA National men's hockey side in preparing for the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games. So it's so nice having Ian on this call. Ian, thanks for the time for joining us tonight. It's so nice.
Absolute pleasure. Great to be with you.
So Ian will be as we go through this. You're more than welcome to ask questions in the chat. A quick background on Sable International for those of you who've not worked with us before. We are a company that specifically focuses on internationalizing yourself. That's the end goal for us, is to internationalize yourself. We've got 15 different departments globally, helping families, helping students, everything from forex, property investment, your immigrations, your visas. Of course, you've got the study abroad and the study abroad sports side. Study abroad sports side is specifically what we will be focusing on tonight. Is how do we make sure that our students on that side are mentally strong. And Ian is one of our performance coaches here as well. So he'll be answering some of those questions and how we look at these situations and scenarios for a lot of our students. So that is the end goal for study abroad sports as well, is to help students study abroad, with the student being the heart of everything. And you can see here's just some of our success stories. And these are specifically some of our students that's gone over to the USA. And some of these names you will get to know. Anthony Norkia, he was part of our 4x400 Olympic squad. Mene de Klerk, also one of our Olympic athletes. Guy Waterhouse, a super nice golfer, went to Princeton. Boati Matau, she's also one of our Olympic athletes, water polo player, currently there at Bucknell University. So that's some of the athletes that we've worked with in the past, and our success stories that we get them there. And the biggest thing for a lot of these students, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a second and start asking Ian some questions, seeing that he works a lot on the mental side. Ian, we always speak about the student before the athlete when it comes to studying abroad and making sure that we get academics sorted before the sports, and that's that part of the process. But you've got a philosophy where you speak about the human before the athlete. Do you mind just explaining that to us and going in depth exactly what the human before athlete means?
Absolutely, Nicole, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Nicole. In essence, it's a question around identity, and to achieve significantly in sport, we have to invest an enormous amount of our time, our soul, our effort into getting somewhere in sport and making a headway. And very often we get to a point, or an athlete gets to a point, where their primary source of identity is their results, their score, their handicap, their speed, whichever sport discipline you're involved with. And that sort of becomes a mirror that athletes are looking into, and the primary place where they are deriving their worth and things. Nicole and people on the call, this is very reinforced by our South African culture, because many of our schools, your pathway to to significance in the school can be through sport. It's a pathway to leadership. It's to be known in the school, to be, a, a person that is really looked up to in the school is often through the sports side of things. And then with the advent of social media in the last 10 years or so, this is echoed even further, because it's not just the odd old sort of local newspaper, but now everyone is posting scores and things. So it's a bit of an intro to that, Nicole. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the stuff that we see a lot is the students actually you'll get to know them on the rugby field before you actually get to know them in person, and you see a lot of our young players now these days with super sports schools coming in, and they are famous while they're still in grade 11, while they're still in grade 12, and of course that definitely links with their identity in that. And of course, within that, there's a lot of emotions, because now your identity is linked, I presume, towards that sport, and suddenly you don't perform as high as you normally do, and it brings a lot of emotions. Yeah, and specifically not just necessarily for the kids, of course, but also for parents. How do parents and kids actually manage these emotions in sport?
Should we let's come to the parents in a second and remind me of that, because I just wanted to read something. I've been privileged to study in uh, a few different courses and being mentored by various people. The one group of the one athletic mind I wanted to access was the Spanish mind. Actually, we know how incredible they are in football. We know the Rafa Nadals and the tennis players, and they've got an enormous amount of elite athletes. And I just want to quote something from the course I did. It says this. It says sports competition, besides being an athletic confrontation, is a stressful event. It's a clash of emotions, a momentous encounter between personalities. No athlete comes out of a tournament the same way that they went into it. It says that emotions deregulate, thoughts are absolute, and calmness and moderation are conspicuous in their absence in the majority of cases. So, and as South Africans, we're passionate about sport. We've invested so much in it. We want to achieve an outcome. So number one, there's that setting, because so in some of the, because I do a lot of the one-on-one mentoring with our Sable athletes that are going abroad, and a starting place can be just a greater level of self-awareness. So, am I aware of what triggers me? It might be in a contact sport like rugby, and I know certain things are going to trigger me, but our hockey players are known to respond poorly to the umpires and things as well. So it's knowing what things really get under my skin, what things trigger me, what things activate me. So one is anticipating those and not getting them, take you by surprise. Then something I try and pass on as a tool to the young athletes is looking at a sort of red state of mind or a blue state of mind. So the red is that highly emotive one, and there's almost fight or flight type symptoms. It could be expressed in aggression. It might just go into passivity, and that almost I just freeze. Or sometimes there's an escape. I just can't wait for the final whistle to go. So this is all over, and I just want to get out of this moment.
Yeah.
So try and make them aware of those things that get them into a red state of mind, and then try to move across to a blue state of mind where I'm recognizing their pressure, but I'm embracing it. I think it's Rusty Erasmus and others have been talking about pressure being almost a privilege. And so embracing it, so being aware, then asking myself or clearing my mind. So when I'm in that, okay, really need to clear myself, let my mind come to the fore and not my heart at that stage, and be asking myself, what is the next task? What do I really need to focus on now? So that's one of the tools I try and equip the people with is the red blue state of mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, practical for a lot of these students is actually being aware of your emotions to start with, and then identifying the factors in the process that triggers that, whether it's a ref or an umpire that made a wrong call in your perception of the game, or whether it's you might being tired. Those types of factors that influence the emotion, and being aware of those emotions are important. From a parent's perspective, if a parent is sitting there next to the field and you see there's a call against your son or against your daughter that's happened, or there's an external factor that influence this, how could parents manage these types of emotions during matches and during the games?
Well, maybe Nicole, maybe it's to appeal to parents to make them more mindful of how much influence they actually have, you know. So if a parent is shouting something out, it's often interference or an interruption. So number one, if an athlete's out there trying to perform, it's hard enough to master that skill just out there on your own. Then you've got uh, your coach communicating, colleagues, opposition, and things. And if a parent is shouting something else as well, then the young athlete is caught in the crossfire. I'm trying to implement myself what I've been coached, what I know I need to do. The coach is saying something, now my parents coming in like this, so I'm just getting so much info that actually can end up being a noise, just a really noise. And so hard to execute, hard to carry out and complete a task, when one is so conscious, let alone maybe the embarrassment factor or things. So maybe it's just parents being aware of just how much they can have an influence on it. And for sometimes we need to step back and see a bigger picture. I think we're so invested in the win, the outcome, and things that sometimes we don't see the bigger picture of what is really taking place. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of parents, I think back at the sports that I played in as well, they really have a massive influence in how you as a player also feel on that day. And if a parent can get that ability to calm their son or daughter down in certain situations and move them from the red to the blue state, it will of course help with that performance. And I think if even looking at my career specifically within sport, Ian, it's been such a privilege competing in a lot of different ones and going through a lot of situations and all of that. But my parents were such a big support structure for me. One of the ways, so I was a high jump athlete, as you know, and competed and enjoyed it quite a lot. And I remember in my matric year, this is now quite a while ago, during my warm-ups, I actually tore my Achilles, and it was as one of those warm-up jumps starts, and it was something that wasn't so easy to maneuver. And parents, of course, being there as a support base helped me quite a lot. But the way of getting back to that first jump again after an injury, after the bad part of sport happening to me, how do you build that mental strength? How do you build that resilience coming back after something like an injury that stopped your sport? And you are going on the high, you were ready, and next moment in a winks, it's gone. In a moment of a second, it's gone. How do you stay mentally strong during your recovery period, and then the moment you start competing again, how do you stay strong?
I think during the recovery period, it's so important to stay close to people. Everyone on the call, I think we sometimes have a wrong understanding of what mental toughness is. Sometimes people think mental toughness is that I never doubt, that I never fear, that I'm never anxious. But I don't think that's the case. It's what does one do with those emotions? What does one do with the thoughts? I met with a 17-year-old yesterday, and she's actually not one of us, our Sable athletes, but someone else. And a month ago, while she was playing sport, her whole knee collapsed. She's had surgery on. It wasn't just the one side; it just totally collapsed. And now she's sitting there and she wants to get back to playing some top netball, but that's going to be a journey. And she needs a safe place where she can share those doubts and those fears. So I think, Nicole, it's important to know that mental toughness does not mean that I don't fear making that tackle or that fast bowler, or I'm not really anxious before that 800-meter that I do. But what am I doing with that? And it's so essential. I often use the metaphor or the analogy of a climbing wall. So it's easy to abseil down, if you feel confident in that rope and that you just a few jips, zip, zip,
Yeah.
you down. And often that can be the downward spiraling that takes place mentally and emotionally after an injury, after a bad outcome. But getting back in there is almost like a slow process of reclimbing a wall. And to get up a climbing wall, you need to make sure you've got a firm footing. Then you need to make sure that you can reach the next place. So it's a step by step. So sometimes we overcomplicate it, and when we're trying to get back into something, we take too big a steps or do things as opposed to maybe simplifying it and going for a sure footing and a sure grip, and just putting some small pieces back together.
Yeah, definitely. If I look back at my own journey as well, it's realizing that it takes time. It takes time to physically, of course, recover, but also mentally. The first time that you're there on the track again and you're starting to run, yes, the bio and physio cleared you and you're ready to go now. But the first time getting that mental toughness, as you said now, is realizing, and I think it pulls back to the first thing that you've mentioned as well, is being self-aware and noticing, yes, I am actually scared of running for the first time again. I am scared of jumping for the first time again. And once we have that, then we say, okay, perfect. Now that I know it's there, that's when you deal with it. That's when you start dealing with those emotions. That's when you start dealing with the mental side of things. Are there specific, like a practical way that we can use? I absolutely love the analogy of the wall. Is there a first step, the first footing that you would tell a student that just came out of injury? What's the first steadfast footing on that wall to climb back?
Yeah, I think it would be depending on our sport, and sometimes people who returning into a contact sport like rugby or something, that one can, when you're taking an injury back into contact or things like that, one can be really tentative. So I think you hopefully getting a safe place with your coach where you can talk about that, and maybe doing a part, an event or part of a game that you can be reintroduced, and not into the full side of things, but just have part of an opportunity. So very often just simulating a competition situation, a practice event, so so maybe one shot putting or something, and help get the coach to help create a competition at the end of practice there, and just say, this is getting back in here. And so to simulate something, you can never quite simulate the pressure of an ultimate big competition, but to come back in. And also, I guess there's an expectation that things are going to come back slowly, I guess. And again, Nicole, I'm so conscious, and people on the call, I'm conscious that there's so many different sport disciplines, but I guess the one that would be a metaphor is that, often a returning rugby player would come on for part of the game towards the end of the bench or something like that. Not as easy if one's sprinting or having to do that, because that analogy doesn't hold true across all the sports. But if there's a part participation, or maybe just doing an event, if you're a track person and you usually would do 2 or 3 events at the meet, then maybe let's stick in at the one and come back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, thanks, Ian. I think that's great, and it's something that we I think a lot of times within this, you miss a role with, or a lot of athletes actually miss a role with the coach also playing a part in the mental side, and the influence the parents have, the influence the family has, the influence the coach that's working with that student every single day, and of course that leads to mentorship as well, when it comes to a lot of these. And at Sable, of course, you are a big part of what we do and mentoring our students, getting them ready to go abroad and compete on a high level. Is there other aspects that you also use? What are the key areas that you cover
Mm.
in your
Mm.
mentorship and things sport actually covers in their
Yeah.
mentorship when it comes to this?
Because so I'm going to re-emphasize that human bit first. So there's that connection thread, and I guess I'm fortunate, or at least and I'm fortunate to have two children in their 20s. So we've been along that journey, but a lot of it is very fatherly in many ways. There's that
Yeah,
that connection, creating that safe place. Um, Talk about process. So often in a sport, we are preoccupied with the final time, the end result, and we're not immersed in that next absolute moment. So speak about the necessity of being process or being mindful of the exact moment that we're in, not running too far ahead. and and sometimes we fixating with what's just taken place. So maybe you're a golfer and your tee shot was really not great, and you're just not managing to get that out of your mind, and you're taking that on into the whole situation. But one
yeah,
is having to do that. um, Different aspects of motivation, just to the different things. There's the aspirational side. Uh, a huge part of motivation is mastery. We love to return to a skill to master it, to really get on top of it, and um,
mm,
and social belonging is a big part of motivation as well. A lot of people love to function in a team sort of environment, and
mm,
and and even if it seems more individual, like swimming or running, people love to train in squads, love to be part of that. So motivation, focus, what things distract us and take us off, self-talk, what's my inner language sounding like, for those in a team, what is an ideal team member looking like. So Nicole, there's off a relational base, having quite a few conversations that hopefully just enrich the journey of that young athlete.
mm. Yeah, and definitely. If I hear some of the feedback from our students after their first session with you, it's always amazing to see how they grow on the mental side, and it's interesting to see a few weeks, a few months later how you see the performance actually also growing, specifically within sports like you've mentioned now, where yes, you train in a squad. If you think about something like tennis, a lot of these schools and a lot of these players, they train with a lot of people on court or the courts next to them. But your result is solely focused on you. And you've mentioned something now, Ian, that's so interesting. And I just want to touch base on that is self-talk. It's one of those stuff that people don't always their self-talk. But how do you manage a player? Let's use tennis as an example or golf as an example, one of those sports where there's something happened now, you've hit that bad shot, you just made a double fault on your serve, and the pressure's there. What's the self-talk like for a student like that?
So I guess we're wanting, I guess self-talk needs to work hand in hand with action and that as well. Um, so let's take a golfer. It's fine to be disappointed after a
Mm.
after a shot of that, but I remember talking to one of our SA professional ladies, Stacey Brechman, and she said when that club went back into the bag, that was that shot over, and
Mm.
then using a sort of trigger word or things like that. Okay, next shot, next focus. So I work with them of building up a small cluster or vocabulary of a few different words that could be used in different environments. So you're wanting to transition from a moment of mistake and then um, be stating something in the affirmative side of moving forward towards the next moment or phase of play.
Yeah, and of course it goes both ways, eh? Because you've got the good shot, which I don't get a lot when I play golf, but you do get the good shot, and then you walk up to the ball. You need to play the next shot, and the same with my driver. If you're off the tee and it's normally to the right or to the left, it's still the next shot, and it's so interesting when it comes to self talk and how that can influence, of course, the process in the end. So yeah, thanks for that, Ian. I think it's great. And yeah, do you mind sharing just a bit of Think Sport as well, and the team that you have there, what
Yeah.
you guys are
Yeah.
doing there?
Yeah. So, or just talking about the partnership with Sable, I think it's been just the ideal sort of partnership. When Tyler and Tam reached out to me a few years ago, it was, I think, such a marriage because it was bringing incredible recruiting skills alongside, and then me sort of dovetailing with that. But yeah, I'm working with partnering with you, but also over and above that, working with individuals, with teams, with schools, universities, and just helping facilitate those conversations that will hopefully maximize performance. So it's a thrill to be doing that.
Yeah, definitely. No, awesome. Yeah, and the privilege was definitely ours on having you here today. And I think for me specifically, looking at that, next time I'm on the golf course and training, I'll definitely be self-talking and working through a process, getting my mind from that dreaded red where I've just hit the bad shot to that good blue. Okay, now I need to take another shot, and both of them actually counts. And I'm taking that to get the mental toughness, not necessarily the mental toughness in the sense of cowboys don't cry, but
Yeah.
being aware of what I feel, being aware of the situation around me, what I can control, and then getting my mind from the red to blue. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's definitely something that I'll use day in, day out. Yeah,
What
is
an
there
absolute
anything?
pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else from your side that you want to share? Yeah, if there are any questions, you guys are more than welcome to pop it in the chat. But yeah, I think that's that for tonight. Any last comments or thoughts from your side, Ian?
I think, yeah, aspire to get back to the love and the passion of it, and what initially brought you into that sport, because so much sort of accumulates on top of that. The expectations, the things that we put on ourselves. So if we can get back in with the love and the wonder of it, I think that is a fuel that will keep the engine running. So if we can get back
Yeah.
in love with, yeah, because it would have started as a love or a process, that's something we were really passionate about. So to tap back into that love can be a great sort of rebooting moment in a sports journey or career.
Yeah, awesome, great stuff. Thanks for the advice, Ian. Really appreciate that. Yeah, for our viewers, last one from my side. Just wanna bring up the slide again. If you guys want more information, you're more than welcome to scan this link. If there are any questions, you're more than welcome to chat. Yeah, pop that in the chat. Yeah, we're here to help. Ian's here to help. Ian has been a part, as you mentioned, now part of Sable, helping our students mentally prepare for the journey of studying abroad. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop it in the chat. Otherwise, scan that, send us an email. And yeah, thanks for joining. Ian, thanks so much for your time. I know you are a very busy man and high in demand. But thanks for taking out some of your time and helping us and
What a
sharing the
pleasure.
information.
What an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thanks, Ian. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining, everyone. Yeah, if there are any
Thank you for your
questions,
time
let
tonight.
me know. I'll be in the chat for another few minutes. But that's that. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right then.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Great stuff, guys. That's it for tonight then. If there are questions, please reach out to us at Sable International.